Okay, so I woke up this morning and something told me to talk about this today. Um, Friendships. Uh, what is a friendship? What is a friendship with long-term knowing of, or a temporarily in and out friendship? Um, Friendships of women and friendships of men. Um, there's a major difference between all of that. Um, Understanding how life works and how behaviors are and social uh, it's social science basically, and social behavior and all that stuff. um, we don't really understand all these things in life, and so when you go through a conscious point of understanding and having awareness, things get a little different. But we don't tend to think about these things because we use our consciousness on other things, because consciousness is like for self-awareness basically. And what I mean by that is when we use our consciousness and all parts of our thinking and bettering ourselves, it's supposed to be for us, like as individuals. Once again, we have those little things that we not know about when it comes to the anatomy of a body. And decision making is one of those important things that we're not really aware of because of evolvement and society itself. So typically, we all rely on advice. And so when it comes to decision making and consciousness, it's like either you use it on yourself to better yourself and build a foundation and have structure and all that and security, and bettering yourself. So if done differently, um, it would pertain to another person, which will almost be a sense of control to a certain level. Because when you use your full thinking or consciousness with other people, it's like properly use it, because the decision making is supposed to be for ourself, like right from wrong. Does this suit me? Is this a friendship, or is it just a ship that's different than my ship? Um, and what I mean by that is like it's like in theory, but with an analysis, it's like we all have our different ships that we're selling or controlling, right? And it's supposed to be like our own domain, our own life, the direction we choose in life, whether it's good, bad, or whatever it is. And so every ship, like rocks differently, and and our life is different situations no matter what. So it's like like you might have a friendship or a relationship on another area of a situation than what you're used to, and their motion may be different, hitting the waves different in life. So when using your consciousness, it's like be aware of that, because it affects the it can affect the anatomy of the other person. It can affect the behaviors, it can affect the thinking, it could affect a lot of things until a decision is made. And the way the universe works, it's like everything falls into place, whether it's good or bad. Like if you get, if there's something good going on, something good will arrive. If there's something that needs to be properly fixed or properly understood, um, it will arrive, and it will get dealt with in the way the people choose to deal with it, or your friend or yourself chooses to deal with it. As long as a person is in your contact list or in your phone book, whatever, however you uh, keep your contacts or keep communication, if they're in that phone book, they're in that phone book for a reason. And the universe will work in its mysterious ways. So, understanding, friendship, it's like, what is the friend to you? Like, know the differences and know the understanding. What is your friend in your life for? Like, what's the purpose? There's always a purpose. There's always a reason. So these are things you need to kind of understand and evaluate so a person can properly live. Because any toxic friendship in a life, could affect your own life in many different ways. It can almost be a karmatic situation, depending on your situation. So I've understood all this because my situation was different. Of course, all my shows or whatever, everything I talk about is to help another person. So I chose podcast shows to do that with. I went through my own awakening, my own levels of understanding, and so understanding different ways to rethink issues and other things in life to find resolvement. So hopefully this will, find resolvement with other people out there that may need help to get them out of their own situation. So the levels of thinking that we choose to do can basically guide ourselves to finding peace and understanding to be able to change our direction in life and what we're doing, to have less effects from karmic issues. So always know that people hide. Nothing is ever revealed right off the bat, like nothing's ever revealed like instantly with a friendship. When it comes to socialness, it's like people are always trying to find compatibilities to have friendships or relationships. Like they're always trying to find something compatible. The world is always about matchmaking. And matchmaking involves compatibility. So when we have good and bad in our life, it's like very rare that somebody's gonna come out and reveal and tell another person like, oh yeah, these are all my bad qualities or bad things or whatever it is. It's very rare. So when friendships occur, it's like always going to be the most positive or the best thing that they can either come up with, or they're going to choose to share those good things with the other person that are in their life. So know the difference between coming up with or sharing, the good things that are happening to them in life. And so those things usually uh, allow people to feel comfortable to make a decision to become friends, right? And so that would basically be persuasion. If you're persuading, then it's like you need to reevaluate yourself a little bit, because you want the other person to at least be able to have the proper fairness of choice. And so it's just the right thing to do. So you always want to be as honest as you can, and fair with yourself and the other person. So typically it's like, if people end up choosing differently, which is like way more than 90% of the population that typically do, they get themselves in a situation that they don't know. It's hidden because everything's good, right? It always seems good for the moment. And so doing so and having these friendships or relationships, it's almost like we're tricked, basically. Like, we don't really know the hidden part of the other person. And so these things will always affect us. And so when they start to affect us, it's like, when they start to affect us, we won't know. But that's when karmic laws come into effect, and the universe kind of plays a role to where laws of attraction start arriving, meaning their hidden tendencies or internal part about themselves, which would be the behavior that we don't know about. And things will just start shifting differently. It's like one saying they like nature walks, but they really just said that to spend time with you, to build up a relationship, when they really didn't like nature walks. So a person would typically be on their nature walk, enjoying the nature walk, while the other person's not enjoying the nature walk, and just would talk, and get into all these personal issues or whatever. And that's just, a way to explain it, a very minor way to explain it, because when it comes to activity, it's like both people should be able to enjoy the setting that they invited each other to partake in. And so you always want to keep a lookout for those things, because those are little warning signs that can cause issues later on in line in life. Now, that's the thing right there. Like, you want to catch these things before time plays an issue in it, because later on in life, you can 10 years, 20 years later in a friendship, it can really affect a person if there's any issues like this. It's and the way it affects a person is basically like, for an example, let's just say like 20 years later, you have a friend and y'all been doing this for a while, and you start evaluating certain things in life, or go through a moment in life to where you start having self-awareness, then you're going to end up having issues that are coming up to mind and that are reoccurring. And you're definitely going to be able to analyze these things and understand. So understanding the effect is a very major issue, because then it's going to turn into a resolvement issue that two people are going to have to reconcile, whether they're friends or not. This will cause a moment, like one of those movies, just hypothetically speaking, that a person will go on a journey, A person will go on a journey, either knowing or not knowing, that they need to travel halfway across the country. But in theory, it's to make it to that resolvement that they didn't know about. Now, if they did know about what they needed to resolve, it will cause a person to jump on a plane or make that special extra phone call to be able to allow themselves to comprehend the situation and find a resolvement in it. So it's very important to be able to pick and choose your friends in the proper way. And so when this happens, it's very crucial to life, because these are the things that people need to find peace in, and it also needs to be done in a peaceful manner. It's very rare that people do find these situations occur in their life. And what I mean by rare is actually understanding them. Because the typical person, or the thing of the norm, would be that it just happens. That, it might be, just example, could be a birthday, could be a funeral, it could be something tragic that brought a lot of people together that, will guide them to that point of communication, or allowing them in their lives for that moment. And whether they understand it in that moment or not, that's a whole nother issue. But it's going to happen regardless, okay? So when it comes to these thinking patterns, these thinking issues, it's like you always have to remember what the other person, or not remember, but you always want to think about what the other person went through, because remembering would be the thing that you need to get over. It would be the resolvement itself, because you want to be able to find some type of peace in it, or some type of understanding, so it's not always remembered. And so being able to allow this thought process, a person would have to actually understand the things I was talking about earlier, which would be what we shared with each other, right? And did they share only their good, or did they come up with only their good? Did they share their bad, or did they come up with only their bad? Because these things can't be understood properly unless you can understand what conversations you had, and also understand the events in life that have taken place. So, for example, like when it comes to this forgiveness matter, it would be understanding the events versus the talk. And then you'll come to an understanding of a person having that smile, or that attitude of everything being all right when it really wasn't. Okay? And so we all go through issues in life to where we make those promises to friends or relationships, and it's like, why did you do that? There's reasons behind it, and there's hidden reasons behind it. It can be understood in many different ways. It just depends on the situation, once again. But when people make these promises, it's like, make sure they are understood. because a promise to another person could be what they wanted hiddenly to the other person. And it won't make sense because you would have to experience it. So it's almost like two people that understood things verbally through their communication, but the hidden emotional part about it, there was a promise. And so communication factor, yes, it's like they matched up on the promise. But the hidden emotional part factor, the promise was able to allow itself to have an individual promise to each person. So as two people made a promise, internally, emotionally, the two people made one promise through the communication. And so emotionally, there would be two separate promises, if that makes any sense. And it's complicated to be able to explain it all because you would have to gone through the situation. And if understanding this thinking, this way of thinking, it's like you would have to evaluate your own situation or wait for your own situation to occur to be able to experience it. And so that would be, two different factors. You can use this in a forgiving way of, like, if you need to find peace or things like that. Or you can also use this method in the future, waiting for your experience to happen. Now, when you have these occurrences and you're like, oh wow, I didn't really understand this until now. What do I do? It's like, well, there's one or two ways of dealing with it. It's to be able to communicate with the person and understand the expression. And so the person has a choice to either just straightforward communicate and say, hey, I understand this, but you also have to show your understanding and make sure you're ready for that. Like, you're ready for that and you have peace with that. Because you don't want to be like, oh, I evaluated everything and this is what I found out and get all snot. No. Like, you want to be able to find your own peace before you do that, so the other person can be able to feel comfortable with you talking about that. And if not, you would just have to communicate the issue in a very different type of way. It's like with the fact of knowing, but being able to also communicate about it. Either way, you'd have to find peace in the area of the situation, and would have already kind of forgave. But that also depends on your friendship, and how you communicate with the other person. So friendships are important because it's a whole nother foundation. And what I mean by foundation, it's the behavior of, it's a way of. It can be a good effect or a bad effect. It just depends what it is. Individuality is always important. Friendships are about enjoying what it could be affecting, which is life. Life is supposed to be peaceful. Life is, not the easiest thing to get through, but it is supposed to be enjoyable. That's the whole purpose of life, is to be able to live. Living is important. There's two different type of livings that we're always having to be in, which is living which would cause financial issues because we all have to live in a home. We all have to upkeep bills. We all have to have responsibilities to be able to allow ourselves to live. And then being able to live life with the emotional part about it, the realisticness about it, living life like peaceful with the mindset, with enjoying it, whether it's a hobby or whether it's scheduling your activities that you love, whatever it is. So, living and life, like, life is important. To me, life is more important than living, because you have to understand the mental part about it. Being able to enjoy life is the whole reason why we're here. It's the whole reason why we live. Our feet gets us going anywhere we want to go. So it's like, to keep those feet going, you have to have that mindset or the mentality of keeping those feet going, right? And so as long as those feet are going, then we can find ways of living. It just depends on the person and the situation. But friendships usually aren't evaluated like they should. And no matter who it is, it's still life. Like, both people have life. And it needs to be understood, because they both gotta live. So others might need to think about that, and whoever's listening to this might need to understand that. But know what a friend is before you can actually use the ship part. Know what the friend is, know what the ship part is. That's the way I understood it. Because when you separate the word friend from the word ship, to me it was like they both have different settings. They both have different ships. They both sail their ship differently. The wind hits them differently. The waves hit them differently. The motions are different. Everything. Once you put those two words together, at that point, it's like tying rope and anchoring your ship to the other ship. At that point, you have two ships that are clacking together, and the waves are affecting them. And it's like, how can you balance two ships with rope attachments, and upkeep two different sails, or if they have motors, whatever it is. And one person can't sail both ships. So you always want to be respectful and caring about your friend. So know what you need to find understanding in, and knowing why you made your choice to have that permanent friendship. Know all the promises you made, because there's a reason for them. What they would call, back in the day, a pack, I guess. Like, these are those things that we never really touch base on. That why we made pacts with people, which are promises. And typically in a movie, it's like, if you understand it the way I would, it's like they make a pact because they did something as a pact that they don't want to tell other people. or they don't want other people to know, or it's just like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, right? So understand why you made that pact. Like, because that pact was made, like I said, verbally, but know the emotions of each person. It would have been a different pact that was made. So that's where you get the confusement of life, because at that point, the different emotional promises that were made that they all don't know about, that's what set them different in life. And they went off on their way. And not too many people will understand this, but they were intended for the reason it was intended for. So either keep your friendships or don't. We always have that choice. But when it comes to conscious living, it's like, make sure to understand all this, because the effects will be very noticed, I guess, effective. And when things like this happen, it's like something's always bound to come around to be able to find a solution towards it. The things that we not know of, well, this would be one of them. Life, it always has a hidden part to it. Universe, always hidden. There's not one person that can say that they haven't gone through a thought of what else is out there. Well, maybe what else is out there can't be seen. Maybe what else is out there can't be told. Maybe what else is out there can't be proven. What else is there to life besides life itself? What is our purpose? Life. It's interesting. Understand how to value life. Because not a lot of people do. When we do understand life, we still won't know all about it. But these thinking processes will allow us to at least help us understand about others and choices and actions that we could have made, but it's never too late to make them. Also, with these ways of thinking, we can also understand certain issues that we didn't have the time to understand in certain moments. At the same time, understanding these things in life can also allow us to find peace in situations that we didn't know, which would be being able to find peace and understanding in certain situations where other people aren't around anymore. And so being able to determine certain things or experiences of ourselves and others would also allow us to also find appreciation or some type of awareness that we didn't have when people were around. So anybody can use this way of thinking in any type of relationships to be able to allow themselves to find peace in. Because not many people got to be able to enjoy life. Not many people at all. Not many people understand this. This is why this is so important. Because for the people that aren't around anymore in our life, that we may have regrets of not being able to communicate with, and we might beat ourselves up every day about it. It's like, once you understand this, then you can have that awareness of, damn, if they only understood this, it would have been different for them. But since it can be understood now, it can be different for you. Because had other people knew about this, their life would have been different as well. So sometimes people just keep going and going and going in life, but it would have been all about the living, because we all gotta live, but we really never think about the valuing of life. And for me, it makes it easy to understand like my own situations. We all have parents, or we all have had parents. And so whether they were around or not, or whether we were able to have proper relationships with them or not, or whatever it is, this is one thing that's important to anybody that may have a parent problem or any problem in life with people, period, any problem, is that other people get caught up in life because they're striving to live. Living situations are tough, the world's about what? Money, materials. The world's about having to purchase everything to be able to live. Not everybody can do that. Not everybody can do it easily. It gets tough out there for a lot of people. It's difficult raising kids. It's difficult having a family. The upkeep's difficult. So if you're a person that maybe had an emotional issue, or your life was affected from emotions, it's like, think about it. Your parents had to spend their life allowing you to live, because living is living. And if you're still living, then you at least have to, find the understanding to appreciate the fact that, your parent's life was all about allowing you to live, no matter how old you were, or how old you are now, or any situation. So the thinking patterns are very important to us when it comes to our psyche, when it comes to our mental part of our thinking, because it can affect us our whole life, or it can affect us up until this point of awareness. So hopefully other people find some peace with being able to utilize this information or experience. And there's always time to take your time out of your busy schedule to be able to enjoy life. Because we always say that life is about living, but it's actually not. because we all have to live it. So for me, life is about enjoying, and for me to be able to enjoy it would be peacefulness, to find peace. But of course, that's me. Other people's uh, way of life will be different for them, and it always changes throughout life, but our behaviors to ourselves are very important, because then that would be the value of our life. So enjoy life. Everybody deserves to be happy.